My, oh my, what a weekend of college football we just witnessed. Hi everybody, welcome back to Midwest Mayhem. I'm your host, Matt Martin, back again with my partner in crime, Trevor Goldstein. Man, what a weekend this was. We saw number 2, number 3, and number 4 all go down within about 5 or 6 hours of each other. It was incredible, wasn't it?
First time since 1985 that 2, 3, and 4 all lost on the same Saturday. We say we love college football because the unpredictability, the just pure and utter craziness that can happen, and nothing can exemplify that better than Clemson losing to Pitt, Michigan losing to Iowa, and Washington maybe taking the chance out of the Pac-12 of getting to the playoffs. So that's a lot of unpredictability. That's the beauty of college football. That's one of the reasons we love it so much.
I mean, going into the day, we just kind of figured, it's not the greatest weekend of college football. There's just a bunch of top-tier teams going against some not-so-great teams, and it's just going to be another day. We're going through the motions. But coming out of the weekend, it was a day to remember. I mean, I was so excited that Washington finally went down to USC. I said it last week's podcast. I picked it in our pick on our website. Washington wasn't that good. I didn't think Jake Browning was that good, and they finally got exposed against a somewhat decent defense that USC brought to the table. It was a heck of a football game, though. It kept you on the edge of your seat the whole entire game, as well as all 3 of those games. I mean, going back to that Clemson-Pitt game, Clemson was virtually unstoppable on offense. Pitt could not handle the passing game at Clemson, and somehow 43 points later, Pitt finds a way to win the football game.
We love here at Ohio State, in our small little group of friends, there's nothing we love more than a good wheel route. So when Pitt
shovel passes and wheel routes.
So when Pitt scored 2 touchdowns off of a tight end shovel pass and an extra one off of the tight end wheel, we were going berserk. It was incredible how little Clemson could get the run game going. I mean, Deshaun Watson threw the ball 70 times. So great, he set an ACC record for passing yards in a game. But that just proves you have to be able to run the ball and to throw the ball in order to win big games. They could not run the ball. They couldn't get Wayne Gallman going, which is a surprise. He's one of the better backs in the ACC. Pitt isn't that great of a defense.
No, not at all.
They gave up 600 passing yards.
They couldn't stop Clemson, but Deshaun Watson turned the ball over when it mattered most.
I mean, that play action pick he threw when they were up like 42, 30 something. Right at the end of the game, when they could have gone up 2 possessions, that was a killer. He's smarter than that. He knows better. But these new rankings, clearly they don't think it hurt Clemson too much. So
not at all. But it was a heck of a game, and watching that Michigan game, as an Ohio State fan, it was so hard to have to maybe root for Michigan a little bit. And we'll talk about the Big East, or the Big Ten East race in a little bit. But rooting for Michigan to win that football game was just so hard because a little part of you wanted Iowa to just make the field goal, get it over with, knock Michigan off. But another part of us knows that to get to the Big Ten championship game, we kind of need them to win this game. And Iowa making that field goal at the end it was a little bit of mixed emotions.
It was. I definitely felt that way when that happened. But Raekwon McMillan came out yesterday and said, I never root for Michigan. I don't care what the scenario is. I never root for them. So salute to the Silver Bullets. I've never rooted for Michigan. So you know what? They lost. They're still 3. Ohio State 2. I mean, I think they both control their own destiny. But I can't root for Michigan.
I know. But looking at the Big Ten East race, so going into this weekend, it was Michigan controlled their own destiny. If they won out, they would be the Big Ten East representative in Indianapolis in the first weekend of December. At that time, all Ohio State needed to do was win out, and if they beat Michigan, they would most likely be the representative from the Big Ten East. With that Michigan loss now, if Ohio State goes and beats Michigan on the final weekend of November, All Penn State needs to do is win their next 2 games against Rutgers and against Michigan State, and they will be the Big Ten East representative in the Big Ten Championship game, which I can see the final 2 weeks of the regular season playing out any way possible. And either of these 3 teams could end up making it. I could see Penn State even losing to Michigan State. But it'll be interesting to see how these 2 weeks play out. But now that Ohio State sits at 2 in the new playoff rankings that just came out about 30 minutes ago, to me, the committee has Ohio State 2, and I see Ohio State staying in the top 4, regardless of whether they make the Big Ten Championship game or not. I think a win against Michigan solidifies probably the number 1 resume in the country at that point, with wins at Oklahoma, at Wisconsin in a night game, against a top 10 team at the time in Nebraska by 59 points, and then you adding a win against the number 3 ranked team in the country in the final week of the regular season. I think that solidifies the top resume in the country, aside from being undefeated Alabama or Western Michigan. But the wins, the quality of wins that Ohio State would have at that point, I think would pretty much it would give them a spot in the college football playoff.
And clearly the committee thinks quality of wins is important. I mean, yes, Clemson lost this past week, but they stayed ahead of Louisville. 1, because they beat them head-to-head. Mm-hmm. But 2, and Kirby Hocutt said this very clearly, Kirby Hocutt is the college football playoff director of the committee, in case you didn't know that. Mom. Sorry, had to take that shot. But, yeah, he's the director, and he explicitly said Louisville only has 1 win against a top 25 team, and that's Florida State. Clemson has 3. So they took into account Clemson's overall resume and the fact that they beat Louisville head-to-head. And so the same thing could be said about Ohio State. I mean, at the end of the year, Ohio State could have a win over a top 5 Michigan team, a top 10 Wisconsin team, a top 10 Oklahoma team. Are you telling me you're going to keep a team out with 1 loss against a top 10 Penn State team? You're going to keep out a team that's 3-1 against top 10 teams? I don't think that's a real probability. It's not going to be like TCU 2 years ago when they kill Iowa or Iowa State, but drop from 3 to 6. I think they have to respect Ohio State going 11-1. But that being said, Ohio State might not go 11-1. They have a tough game this week against Michigan State. We'll get more into that a little bit later. And they have, obviously, the game noon Eastern on Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend against Michigan. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, as of right now, I think Ohio State controls their own destiny. I think the top 4 teams all control their own destiny.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the committee has done some crazy things. But that would probably be the craziest, keeping a team like that out of the playoff. And another crazy thing that personally I think they're doing, and I know there are some other people out there who think this as well, is keeping an undefeated Western Michigan team at number 21 in the playoff rankings. It'd be one thing if they were the highest non-Power 5 team ranked, but they had the audacity to put Boise State, a 9-1 Boise State team who has lost a game to Wyoming, above an undefeated Western Michigan team who has wins at Illinois and at Northwestern, who has proven to be a pretty decent Big Ten football team. It's shocking to me that they've decided to put Western Michigan at 21, sitting at 10-0. Clemson, Michigan, and Washington all proved this weekend that it is very hard to go undefeated in college football. What Western Michigan's doing, regardless of what conference they're in, is impressive. Boise State couldn't even go through the Mountain West undefeated. What Western Michigan's doing at 10-0 is impressive, and the committee has failed time and time again to show us that they respect that.
Yeah, 2 things off of that. 1, Matt's not saying Western Michigan should be in the top 4 right now because they're undefeated. He just thinks they should be much more respected, which they should be. 2, for those of you that don't know why we fascinate so much over the Row the Boat here, game day is in Kalamazoo!
Wake up, baby!
So for my Pacific Coast friends out there, 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock, wake up. Do whatever you got to do. They are going to have some awesome segments on PJ Fleck, Western Michigan's head coach. You are going to find out what Row the Boat means. You are going to find out why we love them so much. Heck, what if the Coach Gino sprints from one side of the field to the other after the first quarter? This guy is awesome. The team is awesome. Row the boat.
And I mean, for those of you who haven't read it yet, I put an article out there at about week 3 in the season on Western Michigan. There's a nice little video on there of PJ Fleck explaining Row the Boat. So I'll put a link to that article at the bottom of our page. So after you're done listening to this, you can go read that article. It's not too long. It won't take up much of your time. But if you want to know why we're so ecstatic about it, like Trevor said, either watch Game Day on Saturday, or you can just read the article and watch the video on there. It's phenomenal. I guarantee you'll be on board once you watch Game Day or read that article. But a couple of other things in the playoff rankings. I see a bunch of SEC teams that I don't think are that good, just kind of cluttered at the bottom of the rankings. 15, Auburn. I'm not too sure about this Auburn team. They didn't look that good on Saturday against Georgia. They haven't looked that great all year, and they're just sitting at 15. LSU is a team that I can respect. They have a tough loss against Wisconsin, a very good Wisconsin team in Wisconsin. It wasn't at Camp Randall, but it was at Lambeau Field, which is pretty close. They lost 10-0 against the number 1 team in the country, Alabama, which is a pretty impressive result. And they're sitting at 16. I think they should be above Auburn for the time being. They both have 3 losses. I think LSU is the better football team right now. Tennessee, for some reason, jumped into the rankings at 19 this week. They were unranked last week, and the only thing they added from last week to this week was a win against Kentucky. Yes, Kentucky had a winning record, and yes, they were close to the top of the SEC East, but we all know Kentucky's not that good. Come on.
I mean, they're playing football. They're not playing basketball, so we know Kentucky
We know they're not that good. Florida jumped back into 23. I don't think Florida is that good. They got trounced by Arkansas 2 weeks ago, 31-10. And then Texas A&M, they're hanging on by a thread. They were 2 weeks ago. They got whooped by Mississippi State. The score was close, but if you watch the game, it was not even close. Mississippi State destroyed Texas A&M. They only dropped from 4-8 after that upset, and this week they got beaten a close one by Ole Miss, and the committee dropped them from 8-25. That's a huge drop for one loss, but there's just a clutter of SEC teams there at the bottom of the rankings.
The committee has shown that they're willing to drop teams super far or not far at all, so we don't really know what's going on in there. I know when I said it earlier, Michigan didn't drop at all. Or when Wisconsin lost to Michigan, they dropped 3 spots, but they had a bye week. And by the time they played the next game, they were back up at number 8.
Yep.
Or you can look at Florida. They went from 11 to being unranked in 1 week. That's a crazy drop that you wouldn't normally see. So we don't really know what goes on in there, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters are the top 4 teams, and if Western Michigan can ever get above Boise State. Quick little shout out to my Stanford Cardinal. Christian McCaffrey's having a terrible year, but he's still the Pac-12's leading rusher with over 1,000 yards. He could easily get 1,500 rushing yards. He's been out for a game and a half. Stanford's a team to keep an eye on. They're going to get 10 wins this year as long as they can beat Cal this week. And another big rivalry game, but you know what? This is what we love. The last 2 weeks of the season, before Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12 championship games.
Big 12 championship game.
Good call.
What's that?
Good call. See,
what is
Big 12 championship game.
What is that?
I wasn't going to say SEC championship game because we all know what's going to happen in that game, but should be exciting 2 weeks. Go Stanford.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to that little SEC thing there, you had a good point. How all these teams were jumping, and the committee showed that they weren't afraid to move a team really far down. It bugs me a lot that there's so much volatility among all of these teams, jumping from 15 to 25, back up to 13, down to 22. And the constant there in the middle is Western Michigan, staying at 22 or 21 for the last 3 weeks. With all these teams jumping up and over them, I'm just curious as to why they haven't moved up at all. But maybe we'll get an explanation from the committee at some point in the next week or two.
And there are still a bunch of games on the docket where one team is going to lose to another team, 10's going to lose to 15, and 12's going to lose to 18, and Western Michigan hopefully can get up there. Western Michigan, they're better than Boise State. I mean,
absolutely.
Until someone shows me they can stop Corey Davis and Zach Terrell and even Franklin, the running back.
The running game is phenomenal.
I'm not convinced any MAC team or I don't think Texas A&M could probably beat Western Michigan right now. So we'll see how that goes.
We will see.
But row the boat!
Row the boat. All right, moving into our pick'em segment. We've got 5 games that may or may not be pretty good games. I mean, that's what we thought about last week, but we'll see. We got a big one Thursday night, though. 8 o'clock Eastern, Thursday night on ESPN. Louisville, number 5 ranked team in the country, travels to a team at the beginning of the year that a lot of people thought would be right here in the playoff contention. They've slipped out. But Houston, they might be for real tomorrow night. What do you think, Trevor?
They might. No, that's not the right word. Might be for real is not the right word. Houston is for real, and they are going to beat Louisville. They're going to beat them by like 20 points. This is going to be a blowout. Okay, it's not going to be a blowout. But I do think Houston's going to win this game. Greg Ward Jr., this is his last true game with Houston. I mean, they're not going to get into a great bowl game, and this is their Super Bowl. This is their Super Bowl. This is his Super Bowl. I don't think he has that big of an NFL future ahead of him. This is his game. This is his legacy. He can say he knocked out the Heisman Trophy winner from playoff contention. If he can play better than Lamar Jackson at home on Thursday night, Houston will win this game. I look for Ed Oliver and the Houston defense to have a big game, slow Louisville down. I mean, Wake is great. Wake Forest slowed down Louisville for 3 quarters. They had a lead in the 4th quarter in that game before the game got out of hand. They were just throwing the ball away at that point. They had to try to catch up. I think Houston can win this game on the strength of Greg Ward Jr. just being the quarterback that we all know he can be when he's healthy, which he is. Tom Herman, head coach, just a great big game coach. They did it earlier this year when they played Oklahoma in the first game of the season. He's going to have the guys revved up for this one Thursday night. They're going to have an actual audience watching Houston. Houston wins this game. They beat Louisville.
Interesting. I do think this is a game of two very underrated defenses. I think both of these defenses don't get a lot of credit, and they do have some very talented players on both sides of the ball. You say that this is Houston's Super Bowl. It might be. It might be their game that they get up for more than any other game this year. But this is Lamar Jackson. This is the Heisman Trophy pretty much winner to this point of the season. This is a team that may have gotten disrespected in the college football playoff rankings this week. This is a team that has a chance on a national stage when no one else is playing to state their case to the playoff committee that we are here. We have one loss. It was early in the season to Clemson, another top 4 team. This is our chance to go out, beat another good team in the national spotlight, put a beating on them like they did to Florida State earlier in this season. This is a chance for Lamar Jackson to solidify the Heisman Trophy. If he plays well tonight, he might as well go to New York after the game, take the trophy, and go back to Louisville. I love Tom Herman. He's a phenomenal coach. He did great things here at Ohio State. But this is Lamar Jackson time. Louisville is going to win this game. This is their chance to shine on the national spotlight. Cardinals will beat the Cougars on Thursday night.
This is Greg Ward Jr. time. Enough talk about Lamar Jackson. Everyone already knows they've already written his name on the damn trophy. He could go 0 for 50 on Thursday night and he'd still get the damn trophy. I've heard enough of Lamar Jackson. For those of you that have never seen the greatest movie ever made, Miracle, Herb Brooks in his speech says, I am sick and tired of hearing about what a great Russian team the Soviets have. No. We're done with that. I am sick and tired of hearing about Lamar Jackson. This is Greg Ward Jr. time. Go Cougars!
All right, we'll see what happens on Thursday night, but I guarantee you we'll be back again very soon to talk about the results of this game. Our other non-conference game this week is another big one. Saturday night, 8 o'clock, Oklahoma versus West Virginia in Morgantown. It's a big one. This one could decide the Big 12.
I want to pick West Virginia. I really do. I mean, I've never been to West Virginia, and a couple weeks ago we went to West Virginia, and you guys gave me that song "Country Roads" that I haven't been able to get out of my head since then. That's the West Virginia song. I'm sure it'll be played many a times in the upcoming week and during the game. But I just don't think they're good enough to beat Oklahoma. Since Oklahoma's lost to Ohio State, they've reset.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they're playing Big 12 defenses, which aren't the greatest. But someone tell me how to stop D.D. Westbrook. Someone tell me how to stop Baker Mayfield saying, "Here, D.D., here's a ball. Catch it." "Okay, Baker, here's a catch and a touchdown." The guy is averaging 200 yards a game receiving in the Big 12. He has like 11 touchdowns in his last 4 or 5 games. I just don't think West Virginia is going to be able to stop him. We really don't think Skylar Howard is very good here at Armchair or really anywhere. I mean, we went to Morgantown, and even they don't think Skylar Howard's that good. This is his game to prove he is. If Oklahoma loses this game, the Big 12 is officially out of the playoff. I think Oklahoma wins.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I really want to pick West Virginia. I kind of like their defense a little bit. I think they're one of the better defenses in the Big 12. But again,
Wow, what is that actually saying?
it doesn't say that much. You're right. You're absolutely right. We don't like Skylar Howard. None of us think he's that good of a quarterback. And you hit the nail on the head. Baker Mayfield to D.D. Westbrook. The story writes itself. Oklahoma's going to take care of business on Saturday. And I'm sorry, my brother, who is a Mountaineer right now, I'm going with the Sooners. Alrighty. First game in the Big Ten on Saturday. It's a noon game in East Lansing, which could cause trouble. Ohio State and Michigan State. Trevor, who you got?
Yeah, we're going to do a little change of schedule here, and we're actually going to predict that game last, because there's going to be a little surprise coming for you.
Uh-oh.
So we're going to actually go to Nebraska versus Maryland first.
Uh-oh.
I've seen some news that Tommy Armstrong might not play. This isn't for his concussion that he suffered at Ohio State. This is for his hamstring. Hopefully it gets well. Regardless, I think Nebraska is better than Maryland. I think Nebraska, they're still in the top 20. They know all it's going to take is one Wisconsin slip-up, and they're right back in Indy in the Big Ten championship game. So I think that Nebraska is going to win this game. I don't know how comfortably it's going to be, but going home, Nebraska, they're going to take care of business. They're looking at an 11-win season, which coming off of Mike Riley last year, that's a pretty good year.
I mean, they still got to win their bowl game to get to that 11-win season, and they've got a tough one at Iowa next week.
We've seen what Iowa can do to teams.
So don't sleep on Iowa.
They're looking at an 11-win season. I think they get one more step closer to getting there by beating Maryland this week.
But I'm right there with you. I've got Nebraska in this one. I think if Tommy Armstrong plays, he'll be too much for Maryland to handle. But this isn't Maryland's week. Maryland's sitting at 5-5 right now. They need one more win to get to bowl eligibility. They've got Rutgers next.
They're just looking ahead to Rutgers. I mean, Rutgers lost 49-0 to Michigan State, and then they lost 78-0 to Michigan, and they lost 58-0 to Rutgers. Do we need to go to Ohio State? Do we need to see any more evidence that Rutgers is really bad? They're looking ahead. They know they don't need to win this game to get bowl eligible, and that's their main goal on the year. DJ Durkin, you're doing great things at Maryland. Maryland's looking ahead.
Yeah, I don't think, they might surprise us. The run game might surprise us on Saturday. Ty Johnson is a great running back. It's all on him now. Their other star freshman running back, Lorenzo Harrison, was suspended for the rest of the season.
For doing something stupid. We don't know what. They just called it school code of conduct violation.
But Ty Johnson might surprise us. I think that if Maryland has a chance to win this game, it's going to be on the big plays of Ty Johnson in the running game. But I think Nebraska is going to be too much for Maryland on Saturday, and I'm taking the Cornhuskers. All right, second game in the Big Ten. Wasn't prepared to say that, but it's the second game that we're picking. Northwestern at Minnesota.
Yeah, so we've said it a couple times. Clayton Thorson. Wow. Has he done a complete 180 from when they lost to FCS Southeast, or that's at least what it would be in the video game
Illinois
that we play. They lost to Illinois State, which, if those of you who know, I've got family at Illinois State, so go Redbirds. But they've done a complete 180, and I'm not sure who it's on. Is it Clayton Thorson or is it Austin Carr? It could be both of them. Austin Carr is the best receiver in the Big Ten.
It's both.
He might be, in fact, along with D.D. Westbrook, the two receivers and the front runner to be the All-American wide receivers. So I'm looking at Austin Carr, I'm looking at Clayton Thorson, and then obviously they have Justin Jackson, who's a great running back. Anthony Walker Jr. is their stalwart linebacker. I think Northwestern takes care of business. Mitch Leitner can't throw a spiral. They do have a great two-headed running attack of Shannon Brooks and
Rodney Smith.
But that being said, I don't believe in picking teams whose quarterbacks can't throw, and Mitch Leitner cannot throw a very good ball.
Mitch Leitner not being able to throw a spiral had nothing to do with them almost beating Nebraska last week.
That's very true. But that being said, I think Northwestern has too high-powered of an offense. I think they take care of the run game of Minnesota. I think they win fairly comfortably.
At the moment, I still have no idea who I'm going to pick this game, so I'm going to talk through it. I've loved what Clayton Thorson has been doing over the last half of the season. You know that. You guys have listened. I've been really high on him all year. Or I guess for the last half of the season. But I've been really high on Minnesota quarterback Mitch Leitner pretty much for the last 3 seasons as well. It's a tough decision. I think I'm going to take the home team on this one. I'm going to take the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Like you said, the running attack of Rodney Smith and Shannon Brooks has been great all season long. I think that Mitch Leitner can will the team to victory on Saturday. This would be a big win. This could get them to 8 wins on the year. And it's a mark on the program getting to 8 wins, especially in a season where not many people thought you'd be able to get there. So I think this is going to be a huge one for Minnesota. I think they're going to knock off the Wildcats, and I think Northwestern's 5-5 right now as well. And I think next week they get to bowl eligibility. They play at home against Illinois next week. That should be one that they can take care of. I think that's their week as well, just like Maryland, to get to bowl eligibility. I think Minnesota's going to take care of business this week.
You can say a lot of things about Mitch Leitner, but one thing you can't question is his toughness and his leadership. He's really good for that team. He's one of the toughest quarterbacks in the Big Ten, so all props to him. He is a winner. I'll say that. He doesn't play on a winning team, but you can just tell he is a winner. It wouldn't surprise me if they won. I just think Northwestern is better.
That's probably the thing I like most about him. For any of you who know me out there, you know that I am drawn to quarterbacks who have any resemblance to Tim Tebow. I see a lot of fight in Mitch Leitner, and that's why I'm drawn to like him a little bit as a quarterback. All right, now moving on to our big game, like as Trevor has said before, Ohio State and Michigan State. To me, I don't think this one's going to be close. I think Ohio State, that lost to Penn State, sparked a fire. This team has played with an urgency the last 2 weeks when the starters have been out on the field. I think if the starters would have stayed out on the field against Maryland, it could have been maybe 80-3. It was an absolute destruction of the Terrapins. I think the team is focused as well as they've been all year. I think they're rolling on all cylinders right now. I don't think there's anyone in the country that can slow down this moving train. Ohio State, 38-10 in East Lansing. That's my prediction. Trevor, what do you got?
All right. Not going to lie. I have spent more time thinking about this game than I have any other game that we've predicted. Any other game. This is the game. I am so torn. Here's why. Matt said it best. Ohio State. They look like world beaters. Okay, so they beat Nebraska 62-3. That's just too good to be true. They're going to have a serious letdown against Maryland. They're going to win by 3. Not at all. Not only did they not have a letdown, but what was the score they won by? Oh, you guessed it right. 62-3. They are on all cylinders. I mean, the offense has put up 62 points in back-to-back games. The defense has given up 3 points in back-to-back games. There is not a single weakness on this team. Not a one. Meanwhile, we have Michigan State, the case of the most talented team in the country that just never was. They don't have a chance to be bowl eligible this year because they lost to Illinois. Illinois, for crying out loud. I mean, I love Lovie Smith, But Illinois is not that good this year, and Michigan State lost to them.
Let's not put this on Illinois. They lost to every other team they played this season, too.
That's true. So I can't decide. So obviously they played Rutgers last week, and I've already talked about how bad Rutgers has been. But they just shell-shocked them. Michigan State won 49-0. I have not been able to decide whether that's because Michigan State put it together or because Rutgers is just really that bad. And trust me, I know that Rutgers is that bad. But something about the Michigan game looming in 2 weeks' time scares me that Ohio State will look on the schedule and see Michigan State at 3-7 and just be like, we can take care of these guys. We don't have to play that great. And then all of a sudden, Malik McDowell, who hasn't had a standout moment this year, gets 3.5 sacks, forces a fumble. We play in another 17-14 crapper that we played in last year that kept Ohio State out of the playoff. I have been on all sides. Ohio State is the better team. Ohio State should win this game. And I'm pretty sure Ohio State will win this game. But Michigan State has scared me for a couple weeks now because I thought if they put it all together, they could give us a run for their money. I'm going to take Michigan State to upset Ohio State. I pray I'm wrong. And I have as much confidence in JT Barrett as I've had in any quarterback. And I'm a Niners fan, and our Niners teams went to the Super Bowl a couple years with Colin Kaepernick, who I have zero confidence in now. But JT Barrett is a winner. He is a great quarterback, and Curtis Samuel is one of the best players in the country. He could be a Heisman candidate. He won't win, obviously, because of Lamar. I'm taking Michigan State. Maybe I'm just playing devil's advocate. Maybe I'm just praying that I'm just like flat out wrong because I've picked Michigan State every other game this year except for last week when I picked Rutgers and then Michigan State decided to win. I'm going to pick the Spartans 28-27. Something just is sick inside my stomach about this week. It's a noon game. It should have been an 8 o'clock game. I'm scared for this game.
Look, I can't believe you just said that, for one. Two, you've also been wrong on every single Michigan State prediction for the last 7 weeks. So if that has any meaning, I still can't believe you just said that. We're going to move on. We're going to get past this. Don't take too much into what he just said.
We'll figure this out, but hopefully we don't come back next week and neither of us have smiles on our face because the improbable just happened. But like we opened the show by saying, the crazy things happen. Raise your hand if you saw Troy ranked in the AP Top 25. Nobody.
I've had them in my top 25 for the last.
And did you have it at the beginning of the year? No. The crazy things happen. This is college football. I am scared. I am confident, but I am scared.
38-10 Buckeyes.
I hope you're right. I hope you make me look like an idiot.
38-10. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in and listening to us, and we look forward to having you again next week.
Row the boat.
Row the boat.